What makes this guitar so versatile yet still keeps its very simple design? A neck that's bolted on to a piece of wood, 2 pickups, 2 control knobs, and yet there's something really honest about this guitar. We've talked about the Stratocaster, we've talked about the 335, but now I want to talk about something that I believe is even more versatile than the 335, and that is the Telecaster. Today I wanted to share what I've learned from owning and playing these and why this guitar still surprises me every time I pick one up. My name is Chris Ellis, thank you so much for stopping by. Now let's talk about the Telecaster. The Telecaster was introduced in 1950 and it was the first solid body electric guitar. Before the Strat, before the Jazzmaster, this is the guitar that started it all, and it's been used in just about any genre imaginable. And it's not really even a flashy guitar, but more of a workhorse guitar, and that's what makes it so special. It makes you really work to get the best tone out of these instruments. In 1950, we would enter the era we all know today as the Blackguard Telecaster, although it was not known as the Telecaster at that time. Early on, these were called Broadcasters, but Gretsch had the patent for that name Broadcaster for one of their drum sets, I believe, and so they had to ditch the Broad, and then these became known as the No-Casters. Shortly after that, a new name was introduced to what we all now know as the Telecaster, which was heavily inspired by the new television sets in homes. A little bit later into the 60s is when they started to incorporate the rosewood fingerboard, and this is my go-to Telecaster, one of my favorite guitars, and it's actually even not by Fender, but a company called LsL. LsL did not ask me or know that I would be putting their product in today's video. I'm simply sharing because I genuinely love this instrument, and the folks at LsL have always been kind to me, and it's actually the first place that I ever started working when I started getting into guitar building. So I will leave a link to their website and socials if you haven't. Check them out. And if you have an LsL, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have. So like I mentioned in my Stratocaster video, I primarily played Stratocasters for most of my career starting out. All the players that I was heavily influenced by all picked up a Strat, so I wanted to follow suit. Until I got curious about the Telecaster and started listening to some players that played the Telecaster, just like Mr. Robben Ford. I had this guitar spec'd out to be a 60s Mike Bloomfield, Robben Ford-esque style Telecaster, and it came out wonderful. I've had it for the past few years, and it just really sounds great. But it's not something that I really gravitated towards right away. It did take some time to get used to the simplicity of just 2 pickups, 3-way switch, and just 2 control knobs of volume and tone. But once I got the hang of it and played around with it more, this is one of my favorite guitars to play, and I always feel inspired when I do pick it up to play it. If you have a Telecaster or are thinking about getting one, here are some things that I've learned over the years to help you get the most out of your instrument. Starting out with tip number 1. Tip number 1 is something I mentioned in the 335 and Stratocaster video, and something that I truly believe in that helps you get the most out of your instrument, and that is setting your amplifier to your neck pickup. I remember the first Tele that I got, I hated the neck pickup. It was so dark and muddy, and I just could never use it. So I would always be on the bridge pickup and using the tone control, but when I started to really dial in my amplifier to my neck pickups, this guitar literally just came alive. For those of you that are hearing this for the first time, basically what I do is I make sure that I get the most clarity out of the neck position. So if I plug into my amplifier and it's too dark, I'll roll the bass back and turn the treble up. This way I get the most clarity out of this pickup, so if I go any higher, like the bridge pickup, it's going to be a little bit brighter. I have the option to tame that brightness down with my tone knob, whereas I don't have a knob to add brightness for the neck pickup. by setting my amplifier to the neck pickup, it automatically gives me the most I can get out of this instrument before any pedals or effects are added. So if you're not a fan of your neck pickup and struggling with it, I recommend trying to set your amp to the neck pickup and see what you find then. Tip number 2, and this is something I've done recently, and that's completely removing the neck pickup from the tone pot. So one thing I noticed when I was trying to dial in a tone I liked for the neck pickup is that I never used the tone. I never wanted it to go darker, but I always did want it to be a little bit more clear. I started thinking of ways to get better clarity out of the neck pickup, and since I wasn't ever touching the tone knob when in the neck position, I thought, well, I'll just disconnect that pickup from that tone pot altogether. Now, I'm not the first one that's ever thought of that or done that, and I've talked to a couple of my friends that play tellies too, and they agreed. They're like, oh yeah, I do that on all of mine. So what this did was kind of open this up a bit and doesn't have to go through that capacitor, so it added a little bit more brightness, a little more clarity, and when I'm on the neck pickup, it's just the volume that's controlling it. So hear me out. It kind of sounds like I'm taking something away from the instrument, but in fact, I'm adding more possibilities and usefulness to this for my style of playing and what I prefer. So by removing the neck pickup from this tone pot, I can now pre-dial in my bridge position sound using the tone pot. If it's too bright, I can dial it back and it won't affect the neck pickup when I go to switch to that. Or if I want the bridge pickup all the way up, I can have that, and then halfway through the song, dial that back down. And if I want to switch to the neck, I don't have to come back to the tone and roll that up. So it really is like a preset for the bridge pickup, and also gives me more clarity in the neck. It's a fairly simple mod that you can do, and I believe all you have to do is remove one wire and you're just going to be reconnecting another. And I'll leave a picture of that schematic right here on the screen. Tip number 3 is use the middle position more, and the middle position is both of these pickups together. One way you can really dial this in is actually changing the pickup heights on your bridge and neck pickup. It's not going to change it so much that's going to change its character, but there is a sweet spot of how tall each pickup is in relation to another. When you switch to the middle, it'll give you that really nice telly chimey sound. Despite being such a simple guitar, it can really respond positively to your technique. There are many different sounds you can get on this guitar just by playing in different areas of the strings. So if you're going to play up here, it's going to be a lot warmer. You can pick by the bridge and you're going to get a bridge pickup type sound even though you're on the neck. Now you can apply this to any guitar on where you play. If you're going to play over the fingerboard, it's going to be warmer, closer to the bridge. It's going to get a little bit brighter. But the cool thing about this is that if you are on the neck pickup and you want a slightly brighter tone but don't want to slam all the way back to the bridge and then back to the neck, you could just bring your hand back here and that will give you a bridge-esque sound. Likewise, if you're on the bridge pickup and want to warm up your tone just a little bit, you can go a little bit over here towards your fingerboard. And the fifth and final tip that I'll leave with you today is just to embrace the simplicity. It's a neck that's bolted on to a slab of wood. You got two pickups, a single tone and volume control, three-way switch. Doesn't really leave you with anywhere to go. No option paralysis. It's just straight guitar. Obviously, this guitar shines in country music, where it is most iconic in, but it does incredibly well for all types of genres. You have blues, funk, R&B, rock and roll, and even metal music if you count John 5's modded out Telecasters. The Telecaster players that really set me on my path to discovering this instrument were Robben Ford and Josh Smith. When I first started listening to Robben Ford, I hadn't seen any videos, and the ones that I started to see were of him playing the Fender hollow body style and some other big jazz 335 archtop style guitars. And then I noticed that he was playing a 60s Telecaster, and I thought, that is incredible that he can get those sounds and tones and play like that out of something that I thought was made for country music. Josh Smith is another one. His blues vocabulary is one of my favorites, and he plays all sorts of music just on his signature Telecaster. He has wonderful blues vocabulary, like I mentioned, but rips into some chicken picking stuff that is heavily inspired by Danny Gatton. And probably one of the biggest influences that the Telecaster had on me before I even knew it was the album Led Zeppelin 1. Led Zeppelin is one of my favorite bands, and when I started watching videos of them playing live, Jimmy Page was always playing a Les Paul. It wasn't until years later that I found out that Led Zeppelin 1 was actually recorded on his Telecaster. So not only is it great for country and blues, but also heavy blues rock, like Led Zeppelin was doing. Just blew my mind. And last but not least, I want to talk about Ted Green. And Ted Green played phenomenal music, all on the Telecaster. I found out about Ted Green through a former teacher of mine who encouraged me to get his book, Chord Chemistry. And if you are unfamiliar with that or thought about getting it and haven't gotten it, it's a wonderful book. I highly recommend it. There's a lot to go over, but there's a page where it's just full of different inversions of chords, and which you can learn so much just from chords. So I highly recommend that book and highly recommend listening to Ted Green if you haven't. So to wrap this video up, the biggest thing that I learned about owning a Telecaster is it's not about complexity, but about connection. There's something really special about being able to sit down with your instrument and just worry about the music. Every note feels a little more intentional on this guitar. It's simple, but it can really do just about anything if you want to figure it out. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, hit subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know what kind of Telecasters you're playing and what they've taught you. Thanks so much for watching. My name is Chris Ellis, and I'll see you guys soon.